We have Naz on line 1.
Morning, Naz.
Good morning.
Does 6 days of coverage, is it warranted?
I'm not sure about 6 days of coverage, but the fact that Bruce Forsyth has actually come out and, you know, said something about the issue does make a point, because it's come out into the public arena, what was said. So let's discuss it. Let's have a debate about it. He said the P word.
Yeah.
And the way he said it, as if it's a put down...
Naz, let me stop you there, because we had the discussion about the rights or wrongs of the P word on Monday, and universally, well, actually not universally, Shazia thought it was acceptable, but everybody else thought it wasn't. What I want to know is whether or not 6 days of hysterical coverage is justified by whatever Anton said. Is it worth it? Because if it isn't, we need to get a grip of ourselves and stop this ludicrous name-calling, stone-throwing, whatever you want to call it, and get on with the real problems, which are racism in the street.
Yeah, I agree, but, I mean, what kind of discussion are we having? I mean, little snippets here and there in Daily Mail or whatever paper, or, you know, why don't we have a proper discussion? Like, you're discussing it now, yeah? Why don't these people come on and say what was said, why it was said, and, you know, an apology to her, is it acceptable?
No, let's say again. You're saying an apology to her. He's given her an apology.
Straight away.
It's been done. It's done straight away. What we don't know is whether or not she was offended.
I mean, what about all the other people who are offended now it's come out in the open, what was said?
But that's the whole point now. Is if the person on the receiving end wasn't offended, what right has everybody else got to be offended? It was a private comment made from one person to another. Other people may have been in the room, but it wasn't their conversation.
He said sorry as well.
And
now.
he said sorry.
Nobody got hurt. You know, it's not like, you know, I don't know, you know, you could talk about honour killings or something like that, couldn't you? And all the rest of it. You know, people do get hurt there. This is just a word said as a joke, very distasteful, very bad.
If Layla came out and said she was upset, then there would be legs. There would be legs to this story, because
I agree.
She would have something to say. She'd say how she felt, and then you
I was offended, or I tell you it's totally unacceptable, anything like that, and then we know that she was a victim rather than a participant in banter.
We're all just speculating.
Some people
We're
might not
speculating how she felt. We're speculating on everything. It's just...
OK, Naz, thank you. Let's have another.
We have Raymond on line 4.
Raymond, good morning.
Morning, Matthew.
Morning. What's your take on this, sir?
I'm just quite surprised that we're entertaining a guy who's decrepit and almost on his deathbed.
I don't have ageism. Hang on, Raymond. I don't have ageism on the show, just as I won't have racism. Thank you for the call. Let's have another.
Philip,
you can't call someone decrepit because they're, whatever they are, 70 or 80. It's just absolutely offensive. Offensive.
We have Philippa on line 3.
Philippa, good morning.
Good morning.
What do you think, Philippa?
Well, I think Brucie is right. He's absolutely right up to a point. But I think that, as you said, it's up to her, I think, to come forward. She must, you know, she's accepted the apology, I presume.
Yeah.
And, I mean, at the end of the day, the word is what hurts the person, I believe. I mean, not so long ago you had a debate about the N-word, and that was taken back by black people. Yeah. They wanted to own that word. And I find that word so horrendous, I wouldn't, you know. So I think it's that person's perception of that word. Why are we all making a fuss? There are far worse things going on in the world that are far more important.
And it's becoming, don't you think, Philippa, it's becoming almost a habit, an addiction. You know, somebody says one thing that's wrong and the world piles in on top of them. And it's bullying.
Pick. Tiny little things. You've got to take it apart, as the previous but one caller said, and you've got to say, why? He's apologised, for goodness sake. Give him a break.
OK, Philippa, thank you. Let's have another.
We have Jennifer on line 2.
Morning, Jennifer.
Good morning, Matthew.
Is Brucie on the right track here?
Well, actually, Anton de Beck was totally wrong. The word was totally inappropriate, and he has apologised unreservedly.
Yep.
But I don't agree with you at all, Matthew. I think Bruce Forsyth is wrong, and I think what hasn't been mentioned, and it's really important, the English language is a change.
Jennifer, let's just, before we get on to your point, first of all, Shazia, a Pakistani woman who phoned this show on Monday, right, she says she's not offended by the word at all. OK, that was the first thing. And the second thing is, we don't know if the person on the receiving end, Layla, was upset in any shape or form, whether she took offence.
That is an irrelevant point.
But I don't think...
Well, I'll tell you... that will be very much offended.
Right, but they weren't there. that's the whole point. I can take you to my pub, right, where you will see black and white people who've been to school together, and they use the N-word between each other all the time. And there's also a guy who's in a wheelchair, and they use words to him that I wouldn't want to use either. But there's a banter going on in which all the people involved are happy, content, and in fact, if you were to step in and say that you would take an offence on their side, they would look at you and think, well, what business is it of yours to muscle in on our conversation?
I think
and this is no different.
Be very careful about the words that are used now, which apparently were acceptable 30, 40 years ago, but in a changing society and in a changing life and with a moving language and a changing language.
I agree, Jennifer, but do we not also have to be very careful that we don't take offence on behalf of other people who aren't offended?
Yes, but I think also the media is right, and I think you're wrong in saying it's
6 days of coverage.
I think it's coverage that people will talk about. Schools,
but that doesn't make it right. Just because people talk about it doesn't make it right. 6 days of coverage.
And we can learn, and by talking...
But Jennifer, what can we learn? What can we learn, right? Let's just say Layla is not offended. OK, we don't know, but let's... No, but you are assuming she is. So I'm saying if she isn't offended, then we've had 6 days of coverage of hysteria, and you're upset about something that... I
totally disagree. It is not hysteria.
So you are offended...
It is a racist term.
You are offended by other people's private conversations.
I am offended by the fact that the BBC can sack Carol Thatcher because she used a word, which is an inappropriate word. But it's double standards. They do not sack Anton Dubek because they're very, very acutely aware of their viewing figures.
Yep.
And if they lose Anton Dubek, their figures will go down, going up against the X Factor. That is what...
And they didn't think that maybe losing Carol Thatcher would damage the One Show. I mean, that argument doesn't make sense either. And Carol Thatcher, to be fair, Jennifer, didn't offer a profuse apology immediately.
You know
and that's
exactly the words that she used.
Yeah, it's gollywog.
You don't know either.
Gollywog. I don't have a problem saying the word gollywog. I would have a problem saying that you look like a gollywog if someone is a person of colour looks like a gollywog.
I think it's the fact that the BBC per se is saying, well...
But Jennifer, this is getting really tiresome. It's getting very tiresome because you don't even recognise the difference between what Carol Thatcher did and how she dealt with it and Anton Dubek. Carol...
the words that we used.
Jennifer, Carol did not apologise, OK?
I don't know.
Well, I'm telling you, she didn't, OK?
Ron
Anton did.
And he never
Ron Atkinson did.
Did he?
And he was... But that's a matter between ITV and they decided to take that view. He did apologise, you're absolutely right, but in terms of the BBC, which is the organisation we're talking about here, Carol didn't apologise. She didn't think she had anything to apologise for, and there's a lot of people out there that agree with her. Anton did apologise. What we don't know yet is whether the person on the receiving end, Layla, was offended. And I think the idea that you take offence on behalf of someone who may not be offended is preposterous, Jennifer. I really do.
I'm saying that my views on that are preposterous because they're as good as your views as any of your viewers. So
absolutely, that's why they are on.
I really do think that the correlation here is the viewing figures and how the BBC is viewing it.
OK,
if they lost
Jennifer, I've got to go. Loud and clear message come through.
I agree with Jennifer.
Thanks for that, Terry.
God, she had a gob in it.
She convinced me.
Yeah, it's passion. It's what we want. Passion is what we want.
Well, I thought she was making a good point, really. What's, food sauce for the goose, etc.
But that's the point. The point is it's different. You can't compare the Carol case because Carol doesn't think she said anything that's offensive.
You've lost
and she
now.
didn't apologise. Maybe. After the ads.